Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Nuffink and Like It, your monthly look at the FWA on television. I am your cheeky so-and-so, Kieran Lefort, and I'm joined, as usual, by your North City thriller, Andy Ogden. Andy, how you doing?
Doing fine. Nice chat up line I could put on fucking Bumble, the North City thriller.
And of course, your global force, Eddie Sideburns. Eddie, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. I am so excited again. Every time we come and get ready for these, I'm so excited. And again, I cannot wait to get deep dive into this world of British wrestling.
There is always something about each batch, isn't there? Like, even if overall it's not good, there is something about each batch that's worth, like, picking at.
It feels like roller coaster emotions because, like, obviously the one that we had before was like I was high on the world and I was so excited by that end segment and stuff like that. Whereas the bunch we had before that, I basically didn't want to ever see Mark Sloan again.
Yeah, yes, I remember.
So like it's like up and down, and this one has me. I'm very interested to get into it because there's so much to talk about. It's all there.
So we're going to start with Frontier Wrestling episode 25, taped on December the 14th, 2001, and aired. Everybody strap in. July the 1st, 2002.
Fucking hell.
So the TV has been off air for 3 months. Episode 24, which ended with the cliffhanger of, well, not quite cliffhanger. Alex Shane was threatened to be set on fire by the old school, and then the rest of the locker room came and chased them away. So the battle lines were drawn. That aired on April the 1st, 2002. This footage is just shy of 7 months old when it airs.
Jesus, what?
We get a flashback to what they cheekily call last week, with that knowledge in mind. And the end of Shane versus McDonald, all the angles afterwards we were talking about, Alex's security turn on him, the petrol pouring. I noticed the graphics has changed, so someone at least has been hard at work between April and July. We cut to Mr. Blonde, now back to being Phil Flash Barker in the locker room. Dino Scarlo enters. He congratulates Flash on a job well done and says they're spies in the new school camp, which is a thread I'm pretty sure is never followed up on.
I was gonna say, like that's a big deal in this situation.
Yeah,
like,
right?
and it just and then not even Priest talks about it.
No.
Nothing happens. Tony Angelino, aka Dino Scarlo, is like, "It's a spy, and you came." Honestly, his entire talking segments throughout these entire shows, all I could think of is the guys again, the singer from Only Fools and
Crying. So,
Vinici.
So, Dino tells Flash it was Barker's name on everyone's lips while they were drowning their sorrows in the pub. He says, "Let them hate you because, as the philosopher says," and he doesn't elaborate on which one. If you're interested, it was Roman Emperor Caligula. "Let them hate so long as they fear." Eddie's falling off his chair.
Don't fuck a horse. Don't fuck a horse.
Titles. Do we think the jaundice filter has been turned down again? Because it's much less like piss stained than it used to be, I'm sure.
It felt like my room had been lit up by like the entirety of that awful jaundice on that screen when it in that entire recap and segment, because it was just so bright. There was a moment where it looked like someone threw a fireball, and then there was some weird close up really just on Flash Barker's face.
I don't think anybody throws a fireball. There is, however, some new footage. There's some new footage because we get seeing the Nikita and Dean Ayers debuts from our last batch. Match number 1, Cruise versus Haid Vanson. Cruz, not Cruise, is using the track that would become Ulf Herman's music, I noticed.
Okay.
I didn't realise that Haid Vanson was called the South City Thriller from the get-go. I've always thought it was his heel nickname. Where or what is South City anyway, and how does one thrill it?
I would say, lads, he weren't thrilling anyone with his gear. I did put it looked like he had bandaged the legs.
I've put Haid Vanson tall Loki. because that was the way he kind of looked to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Was going for the karate gimmick, weren't he? So you could say
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
He was, and I thought Cruise had been like packed up in a bag and shipped off, but then suddenly he appears out of nowhere, wearing some awful green and black tights. And
I mean, gear is nobody's strong point in the FWA.
I was going to say it's another new venue again, isn't it? The Action Assembly Halls. Oh no, Acton Assembly Halls.
This is Acton Town Hall. I filmed a show here. We'll get onto that later on. I noted that everyone now has their own individual font on their name graphic.
Yeah, and websites as well, I think, for some of them.
We're moving into the 21st century. I was very thankful they very quickly tilted the hard camera down to cut off the balcony that had maybe 10 people in it.
I was going to say, there's got to be some workers up on that balcony trying to keep their heads down.
Yeah. This only goes 2.5 minutes. It's mostly Haid until he misses the Booker T axe kick and ends up in cruise control, which is Chris Harris's catatonic for the pin. Absolutely nothing to write home about, but nobody disgraced themselves either. It's just 2.5 minutes of wrestling for TV.
I really enjoyed Haid Vanson because he did a great kip up and then chop spot, and his chops were just very interesting for me. I'm like, I like where you're going. I see that potential. But this basically just was a whole nothing burger of a match.
It's introducing a new character, and then immediately having him lose to the worst person in the new breed.
And also, Priest was like trying to do the whole trying to sell the story of the reason why Cruz was kicked out was because he was wanting to be the leader of the new breed. Wasn't it just a case of he was being too violent for the other two who were just like, well, fuck that?
Yes, he was too violent for the other two, and then he lost the match where the loser would have to leave the new breed. My favourite part of this whole thing was how the replay box appeared over Cruz as he was leaving when the entire top right corner of the screen was completely empty and they could have put it up there instead.
They just put that some in random places at some point. I'm just
it's like knowing Austin Powers where they do the naked scene, but they like going behind teapots and stuff and flowers and bushes. Yeah, it was like that, but with the replay box all over Cruz. Any thoughts at all, Andy? I mean, like I said, it's less than 3 minutes of wrestling.
Yeah, I thought Haid looked okay, to be honest, but you were thinking from the presentation, right? This is like a new start fella coming in, looks pretty flashy, and then the other what's he called, Cruise, he wins with one fucking move, and then that's it. It's like, what were the point of that 2.5 minutes? No one got over.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like he gets either of them get any kind of Vanson does his chops and then his kip up. There's a moment where he goes for a leg drop, misses it, and then it looks like Cruz is going to go for a leg drop, and then just nothing happens. I think he just pretends he's not going to do one. And I'm when I was watching this, I'm just like, where are we going here? I get it, you're trying to introduce a new character, but it's like...
It's just to give a guy a debut, He is fresh out of the training school.
Are they doing the whole... Because I'm assuming he was part of the anti-Mark Sloan cabal then of the training school, because there was the Sloan Lovies.
He is a London trainee. Right. According to Cage Match, this is only his second match. He had one against Ross Jordan, a dark match at the Harrow show the previous month.
Listen, this is the same man who was going to end the Undertaker streak. So.
Oh, yes. Incredible stuff.
Yeah.
FrontierWrestling.com ad with a speed disco soundtrack. And then, sorry lads, the new breeder here.
I've changed my mind on them. The Princess Di of FWA, the People's Princess. The tag belts are so tiny around their waists.
I thought he meant he was going to kill him in a tunnel in France.
No, but people will try to eliminate them in that way. Probably the Castanos at some point, I guess, probably. Maybe. But I think, honestly, New Breed are fine. I have no issue with them. But, they try.
They get the mic and they do some chat, pointing out some of the fans in the front row. Those fans are all FWA London Shane trainees. Yes.
Kieran, did you notice a young lad with a bloody, Jodie Fleisch's gimmick mask in Michinoku Pro?
Yeah, Doc Chan.
Doc Chan, yeah.
Yes, he had a Doku Chan mask. Yes. I have suspicions over who that was, but I would want to confirm it before I mention, in case I get it wrong.
Yeah.
He's not a wrestler, but he was a pretty prominent fan some time ago. Yeah, it's not Ben Corrigan.
I'd laugh if it was.
They did a great they did a good Mick Foley. It's great to be here in wherever the feck it was. Acton, oh yeah. And then I was just like, okay, they there's a little ginger kid wearing a mask apparently, and then they got a nice wee pop, and then the name. By the way, the team that came out and challenged them, I'm not going to remember any of their names.
Don't worry, I'll help you out. I do believe this is the FWA's first show in actual London. Oh no, they had one more in 2000. Am I right? Yeah. All well. Is Barking actual London? The Barking Broadway Theatre where we saw some UWA come from. Yeah, Barking's a bit far out. I'm going to call this their first show in actual London, because the others were Harrow, which isn't really London, and Barking, which isn't really London, with my apologies to anybody who lives in Harrow or Barking. I'm very sorry you live in Harrow or Barking. So the breed say that the old school appear to have their sights set on the tag title now, and are sending two of Alex Shane's former security guards, now known as the Boys with a Z after them. Curve is in the middle of making a nonsensical cock joke when the Boys' music hits. It's the little green bag knockoff that played over the skits in Alex Shane's hideouts when they were doing the Reservoir Dogs thing. Two boys come out. They're keeping the white shirt, black trousers, black tie attire. They look like the Hackney chapter of Right to Censor. We are told that these two are called Creed and Slash.
Creed.
From behind, though, two other boys attack.
When you are with me.
Not that Creed.
I'm free.
The two other boys attack. These are Sticks and Pliers. And I was thinking, isn't it mad that he's kept the name Sticks to this day?
Yeah.
Like, Paul Grint still wrestles and he's still called Sticks. So we've got.
What was the other fella?
Pliers.
Shaka. Where was Kadeem? Where was Shaka Dean?
So we've got Creed, Slash, Sticks, and Pliers. Eddie, what do you think your name would be if you were one of the boys? Put on a white shirt and a black tie.
I don't know. I was thinking like the idea would be like for like some Krank or something like that. I'd probably want to go with maybe, I don't know.
That's good. Are you Jimmy Krank or
Jimmy Krank?
Little Jimmy Krank?
Little Jimmy Krank. I was just suddenly do a Kranky impression.
Yeah. Andy, what about you?
Probably going off from like what Phoenix Knights once said. I think Paddy McGuinness, Tommy Dickfingers.
I mean, I was. Fucking hell.
Just call him Dickfingers.
I was thinking more like a one-word name that would fit in. So, like, Krank fits in with Pliers and Sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think you would be. I don't know. I'm thinking about beer. You would be Canz with a Z.
Like nails.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be. I think I'll be Spatula. Anyway,
these are jobbers though. Utter fucking jobbers, and fucking the baldness on the two of them that are called Pliers and Sticks. And I'm sorry, but like, just one of them looked like Chris Linnaeus at some point. I was like, fucking hell, bald.
Eddie, I'm going to say Sticks Junior and Sticks Senior, weren't it?
Yeah. I mean, it went in stages. There was bald, number one, curtains, and long hair.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of say to two of the ones that were bald, why are you so bald?
I will say again, remember, last time we talked about Sticks, he was 19.
By the way, love you, Sticks. Great person. Just want to make sure out there. But
yeah.
Jesus,
absolutely.
Man.
I'm big fan. Always have been. He's always been lovely to me. So Where do we get to? Jesus Christ. Curve gets a kick in on the outside, while Ash gets an assisted electric chair in the ring. And then Curve is rolled in to take a pretty sweet-looking flapjack into a DDT. And then Sticks and Pliers pose with the shit toy belts. Either the show is running short or Curve is doing the editing as the camera lingers for ages until the breed pick themselves up.
I don't know if it as well. I was just going to pick up on the music that the boys come out to. Sounds a bit of a knockoff of
Yes.
The Race by Yellow. You know,
Does it now?
I also think, like, see the music that they have, because obviously it fitted well when they were in the gimmick of they were kind of like to lock, stock, two smoking barrels and stuff like that. Now they're in this kind of gimmick, it just feels a little bit off for what they're trying to get at.
Like, I don't think they care, to be honest. Like, it's a piece of music hanging around that has been used for them before. I know what you mean, that it doesn't quite work, though.
The fact they just went, what are we going to call ourselves? Boys. Great. With a Z. Like,
they do look like the world's ugliest boy band, yeah. So we cut to backstage, and Scott Parker is in an England football shirt on AEW Dynamite as Ulf Herman immediately interrupts his backstage promo, saying he doesn't care about anything in this federation. Next week he's going to kick Parker's ass. Just watch my eyes when you're in the dust and feel the pain of Herman. He's like someone got Chat GPT to write a wrestling promo.
It's Parker's response, which is the fucking... I couldn't stop laughing. He's like, just bring on.
Yeah, doesn't chase him down and fight him. He just stands in front of the camera and goes, bring on. I'll fight you next week. Yeah, bring on. We get a new Here Comes the Pain loading screen for the ad break. I suspect this is where Ralph took over the Photoshop work, as it's considerably more flashy than the previous ones. Back from break, and never fear, because the shoe stealer is here. Chairman of the FWA Foot Fetish Club, Mark Sloan, is out, and he has a new lackey in Chris Justice, who we will never get to see have a match. Eddie's dead.
Watch out for your feet.
Okay.
But like this just I don't get what they were doing there. Like him and Hayworth or Haybert or whatever his name was. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. So Justice, we mentioned him last episode. Justice is one of Sloane's trainees. The best thing about him was his music, which was a knockoff of You Can't Touch This, which apparently a group of the non-wrestling staff came up with in a car journey back from somewhere, pitched it to Ralph, and he immediately went and recorded it. The story I heard was he was given the boot for cracking onto Nikita while she was with Alex, and Alex was the booker. Not a smart idea. Eddie's now wishing he hadn't taken a mouthful of drink before I told him that.
That's just typical wrestling, isn't it, baby?
It very much is. His opponent is the All England champion Paul Travell. Mark Priest reminds us that Sloane got his shot after beating Johnny Storm a couple of episodes ago. He also says he has a fax from Victoria de Montfort. He says he hasn't had time to read it all, but the gist is she's back and she means business.
Yes, finally, we're getting there.
Some proper authority in the FWA.
Yeah, we thought she had been killed, but now she's able to at least send a fax. So are we saying Mark Priest has like a fax machine right beside where he's commentating?
Absolutely, for late breaking news that has to get out on air.
I'm just imagining him as it's the Mitchell and Webb scene where it's the snooker commentator and he's got the beer and the cigar and he's like, oh, that's the bad miss, and it's just him doing wrestling.
That was huge when I was doing RQW, and Dean Ayers was one of the commentators, and he and I would try and come up with Mitchell and Webb references to get in on commentary. And one episode, I had him, someone missed a leg drop off the top rope, and I had him do, oh, and that's a bad miss.
That's a bad miss.
Eddie, about fax machines. Seeing as you're the youngest of the three of us, would you ever?
Would I ever have used a fax machine? No, I don't think I've even seen one in person.
Fucking hell, I'm so
No.
old I used to sell them.
But it's like I kind of understand you see them in movies and stuff like that, and you're like, right, okay, and it's like we need to get in this fact stat. But then, like, I love the fact that this is so dated by the fact that the commentator's like, I've got a fax machine and I've just been faxed, but I can't read it all because I've got to focus on the wrestling.
Have you got a wrestling match to commentate on?
Premier Inn and Travelodge still use fax machines.
Oh, I'm just glad that Demonfort is back. I thought she was gone forever.
See the guy in the Fozzie t-shirt hugging Travell? That is Andrew Maddock, who would go on to be, among other things, the FWA's webmaster. He and I made a short film together a few years ago in which he plays the main character. Travell is accompanied by Gary Hayward, who you may remember from episode 4. I got a message from one of the Deep Throats who says Gary Hayward was one of Mark's original Fratton trainees, along with Travell, Paul Slee, and Aaron Mitchell. I don't know who either of those last two are. He wasn't terrible, but he would never stop smiling, to the point that it was pitched that he'd do a gimmick as the world's first ventriloquist wrestler so he'd keep his fucking mouth shut. He was back because he...
Fucking brilliant.
He was back because he decided he wanted to wrestle again, but we won't see him again. This is his final appearance.
I love the amount of people that just like appear and then
the transitory
disappear.
nature of this company.
It's like you would just get that bit where they just you see this person like, oh, we'll see them next week, and then it's like the Arrested Development voice. They did not come back.
Yes. We need to do like a Leave the Memories Alone video, in memoriam video of people that only show up once or twice.
But we have to do that, and then we have to build up to the main guy who disappeared and has never been seen since and won't ever come back. And that's right, I'm talking about the master of how not to do a spear. Gary Fonda.
Schamberg.
Miss Schamberg.
So, Gary and Paul have clearly been to Tesco as Travell removes from a bag for life a bunch of bananas because Sloane's a monkey. He throws most of them into the crowd, but the sight of him eating... Go on.
I was going to say with this, if somebody walked in or you were watching wrestling, they'd think you're a racist watching this with the amount of monkey chants and bananas going off. Oh, it's just so wrong. Alex Shane would be paying £5
there is a
that
specific
for a fine for this going.
There is a specific way in which this could be very much more racist. The sight of Travell eating one of these bananas is enough for Sloane to charge him and double leg him. The crowd chants "Spank the monkey" as they brawl around ringside and back into the ring where Travell hits a suplex. Sloane does 3 flips to escape a wrist lock and takes control.
It was impressive, Impressive.
Yeah.
Did you think that Mark Sloan was legit pissed off at Travell at the beginning when he did the double leg takedown?
No.
Because I was like, did he like piss in his coffee or something like that? Because I was like, oh, he's getting
Mark
a bit angry there.
Occasionally can have a sense of humour about himself.
Yeah.
The one, I don't know if we should talk about the one time he didn't really have a sense of humour about himself with me. Maybe we'll save that for when it comes up. They do a bunch of stuff. They very clearly practiced a lot of the academy. And Priest says, Mark Sloan doesn't just want to beat his opponents, he wants to hurt them. He's a nasty monkey. Every time a camera comes up to Sloan's face, he has to say something into it. I didn't understand a single word. It all seemed to be mush of a Berber.
There were the kind of acoustics and the microphone in this venue were not the best.
It's 2002 British wrestling where nobody knows to plug the XLR cable from the sound desk into the camera. It's very simple. It's £10.
There's segments there's segments as we go on to talk about where it's like I have no idea what anyone said during this.
Yeah. The match grinds to a halt as Travell is sent outside. Sloane makes a hash of climbing the ropes for a dive and then just gives up, killing any momentum and making Paul look like an idiot for standing there and waiting for him. At the same time, a bright, harsh light appears from somewhere and shines right into the hard cam. I think so. There was a crew from Channel 4 there filming for a youth show called Blunt, and I think that was their cameraman turning his light on. Priest then has the balls to call the All England division the High Flying Division. Thankfully, Travell soon does a moonsault to stop him looking too silly. He says, some of you who watch WWE may know it as a lion salt, and the fact he says WWE means this was recorded after May, because that's when they got the F out, was May 2002. Travell does a brilliant job of regaining his footing when he slips off the top rope. It's instantaneous. His feet are back where they should be, and he backflips over Sloane's head, and after a lot of running about and reversals, runs Sloane into the buckles from the apron and hits a tornado reverse DDT, and I have my head in my hands because Priest called it the Travelator. The cover, though, is late and weak, so Sloane kicks out, gets his own 2 count off a Liger Bomb. He takes the ref, allowing Chris Justice to run in and hit his one good move, a run up the buckles into a moonsault. He dashes back out again, straight into a Hayward clothesline. Travell kicks out of Sloane's pin and hits his lovely spine buster as we quickly cut to Raj Ghosh appearing from nowhere and leaping off the guardrail onto Justice. Travell misses his bloodshot splash, allowing Sloane to hit the Specie Driver, the Angel's Wings, and put his feet on the ropes to get the pin and win the title.
Ref sees those fucking feet on that rope.
He does.
He's doing push-ups. How is he not fucking noticing that?
Ref watches back. Do you realise Mark Sloane is the 5th person to hold the All England title since this show began? We've seen Scotty Rock, Johnny Storm, Ahmed Chair, Paul Travell, and now Mark Sloane.
And to be fair, no one really saw the room that Ahmed Chair won the title in, because it was, know. I mean, he could have technically lost at the same time, to be fair.
Apart from that play-by-play, my entire notes on this match are, a match happened.
Yeah. I think that title seems very much hot-shotted, which kind of is...
Yeah.
But it's like...
Yeah, that's sort of the point of it, that it could bounce around a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought this was okay. Again, it's a Sloane match. I mean, I was a bit, no tie at ringside to cause any interference, because now he's got Chris Justice. And then... But I think, if you're someone who's like us watching this show, you have no idea who Justice is, and you have no idea who Gary is. You've seen Gary maybe once before, but there's not any... I mean, obviously, Priest does it, credit to Mark Priest, does a good job of explaining, because obviously there's the trainees who are on the Sloane side, and there's the trainees who don't like Sloane, like Ghosh and others and stuff like that. But if you're coming and watching this weekly, you would kind of have some kind of segment where it's like, Ty isn't here, so I've got my young boy now, Chris Justice, is going to be, and, stuff like that.
On this show?
I don't think he is. I don't see him at all. Also, the Specie Driver is just an interesting name for that move. I think we've discussed that already before. But,
yeah, it's pretty bad. No, James Ty is not on the Acton show.
Couple of notes. This is 2 lads with bowl haircuts in Best Lonsdale having a match. Yeah.
White collar wrestling is if they've been told to do everything in 5 to 10 minutes, and they've watched some high flying stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm still calling it the Specky Drive and not the Specie Driver, or it's called.
Yeah.
The finisher.
I'm pretty sure that name gets assigned to several different moves over the course of Mark Sloane's career. So, all the stuff, as we mentioned earlier, that we're talking about on this episode was taped at Acton Town Hall. Did any of you happen to catch the name of the show as listed in the end credits?
No, but I thought it was Lights, Camera, Action.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, Lights, Camera, Acton.
Also, did you see that I got a shout out in the credits for my camera work? Because there's the name of people, and then there's just Edward. And I was just like, well, it's very nice of them to use my, like, my special, the special name, but I'll take it if it's just Edward in capital letters.
Why not?
But
why not?
I realised that. Like, I like that. I would have loved it if they had started the show off by getting the guy who presented like Police Lights Camera Action to come in and do the.
Alistair Stewart, weren't it? Police Camera Action.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this show was in danger of not going ahead because the council apparently had safety concerns about wrestlers outside the ring. And promoter Barry Charalambous, who I think we've now mentioned 3 episodes in a row, had to go and have a meeting where he convinced them that all the wrestlers were trained professionals who knew what they were doing. Also, I got a note from an FWA insider who says, Lights Camera Action was the first of 2 shows that I made a 24-page A5 program for. I sold it for, I think, £1, and it had bios and storylines and even a blank page to get autographs. After I did the one for Crunch, which is the next live show, Alex demanded that I give all the money from it to the FWA, despite me doing all the work and paying for the printing myself, and not asking for anything other than some petrol money for working the shows. I think I might have made a total of 30 quid from the 2 issues after costs, and needless to say, there wasn't a third. I think Alex might even have told people I'd stolen the money it made. Inside the programme was an ad for a show in Brighton that never happened because the venue fell through. Among the things planned for that show was a live Breed TV with Ulf Herman as the guest.
Okay, hell.
Eddie is just sat bolt upright. That would have ended with Ash and Curve getting chucked in a swimming pool.
Gentlemen, you had my curiosity, but now you've got my full attention. Oh my! That on TV would have been fun.
Things we have missed out on.
Come on, that'd be fun.
Doors.
Them being beaten up by that mad German, Christ.
Yeah. So, episode 26 airs July the 2nd, 2002. As the old school come out, Mark Priest tells us that Victoria Demonfort will make her return on this week's episode. He also says that Robbie Brookside is a 20-year veteran. And I was like, hang on a minute. And then I did some research and found out he debuted on October the 22nd, 1981 at the age of 15. So yes, he is a 20-year veteran at this point.
I get on paper.
Got no idea what you said because your connection sucks a cock. And I really hope your computer is recording this to your drive.
He looked like a 20-year vet on Sorry.
Don't buy a Chromebook, anybody.
Oh my god.
I was going to say he did look like a 20-year veteran on Smash by the look of him.
Did you notice like how the fans were chanting along with "We Are the Old School," and I was like,
It's a
clapping along to it as well, like "We Are the Old School,"
yeah.
And then they all came out, and then it kind of got me back to, oh my god, they're this is some stable they've got. Justin Richards in the red looks completely out of place with all these guys.
Well, I mean, most of them are dressed like giant sixth formers because it's the boys in their white shirts and black ties, isn't it?
You've also got Flash Barker there looking like the Terminator.
Yes, you do.
Like with his bloody sunglasses on.
Yep. So Dino Scarlo gets the mic and he runs down Alex Shane saying, he is not the stealer of shows, he's the teller of stories. He's a Hans Christian Andersen character, but by the time we finish with him, he'll be more like the Brothers Grimm. What?
Every fucking promo, every moment in these episodes of Dino Scarlo seems like a man who has clearly just swallowed a fucking book, or he got a book for Christmas, of quotes that make him look hard and make him sound hard. Kind of like, it's like, just shut the fuck up, mate. You're annoying me at this point now.
Didn't he used to be an Imperium? Apparently, Alex Shane has a mystery partner for a match against the Old School. Dino speculates on if it'll be Guy Thunder, who Drew points out owes them, or Scott Parker, and they make cricket jokes. He says there's only 2 fighters in the UK of the calibre that Alex Shane needs to go up against the Old School, and that's Drew McDonald and Flash Barker, and they're his opponents. He quotes Macbeth to stony silence, saying, "It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury signifying nothing," which frankly sums up this whole promo. Get me the commissioner. Oh, sorry, I forgot he has to do the theme tune.
I love it.
It's the triumphant return of Victoria de Montfort. She takes the mic and is rubbish. Drew takes it off her and shouts her down. Nothing worth breaking out the impression for. Dean Ayers then does a really smart thing. He gets Drew to hand him the mic as if he's going to speak and holds it in such a way that Demonfort can snatch it out of his hand so that Drew doesn't have to give the mic to her. That's one of my issues with the promos that go on in this company. They only have one house mic. So babyface and heels keep handing the mic over to each other, and it looks really stupid.
This feels like
you can't rely on it, but it's a catch if you chuck it.
There are some good moments where I think, like, I think it's in a episode that we go down to later, where like the face refuses or the heel refuses to give the mic to the other person or something like that, and I was like, right, I like that kind of stuff. This felt very much like a opening of a Monday Night Raw kind of segment.
Yes. So they would do this a lot on shows. I remember even when I started going, like, they would do the first 15 minutes would be a big promo that set up the rest of the show. So this would have been the first thing the live audience saw. The second thing the live audience saw was that Mark Sloan versus Paul Travell match. So after far too long, Shane's music hits, and he is in the same tight T-shirt that he'd wear for every promo for at least the next 3 years. He makes an extremely lame Viagra joke towards Drew and a homophobic joke towards these former security lads. He handily runs down a bunch of matches, saying there will be Robbie Brookside versus Doug Williams and the Boys versus New Breed, etc. He gets in his one good line against a trench coat wearing Flash Barker, saying, "Would you call yourself Flash if you wore a jacket that looked like that?" And finally introduces his tag partner from WWF Tough Enough, Chris Harvard.
What?
Yeah. So
what?
Yes. So this is Chris Nowinski, the runner-up on season 1 of Tough Enough in 2001, which aired less than 3 months before this show took place. So the finale of Tough Enough was September, and this show took place in December. And then, when this went out on TV, he was in the middle of his feud with Bradshaw on Raw. So you have a current WWE TV guy on FWA television. So he was relevant and current twice for this one segment.
Yeah.
On his website, a few years later, he claimed the FWA was the best promotion he ever worked for outside WWE. So I guess Alex got in the hookers and blow or something.
Probably Alex Shane probably signed a waiver that when he passed on, that Chris would get his brain to check out all that CTE, baby.
Christ.
I was trying to figure who it was, because I was like, I was wondering if it was da 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 Thunder, but then no, because obviously as I found out he's gone, and I was like, who else could they get? And then when he said the name Chris Harvard, I was like, what? And then I saw him, and I'm like, fucking hell, and he's wearing the Tough Enough shirt, and it's like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
When he saw Drew McDonald headbutting that chair, it's like, bit of CCE, that, mate.
Chris Nowinski says this is his favourite promotion because someone in FWA signed over the CTE rights for him, probably.
He comes out brandishing 2 chairs, with which he and Alex rush the ring. The old school scatter, and Harvard cuts a promo saying, when my good friend Alex Shane called me and said the old school were using their fat bellies to push people around, I said, get me on a plane, brother. He says this is the same kind of crap he has to deal with in the US, but he's been in the ring with the likes of Triple H, Kurt Angle, and Al Snow and survived. One of these things is not like the others. Drew, as you put it, starts headbutting a chair around ringside, and Harvard says he will beat respect out of the old school, and as his buddy Alex says, there's two things you can do about it. On a 26-minute show, this took up half the runtime.
Yeah, I didn't realize that because I was watching. I was like, normally they do 2 matches. I don't think we're getting 2 matches out of this one.
No.
And then I was like, no, we're not.
No, I thought this definitely picked up in the final minute once Nowinski came out, and I thought he came off really well. Like, he knew the product, like he knew everybody's names, and he fit in straight away. Like, he and Alex together look good as a unit because they're both like the same kind of size and shape. Most of this was crap. The last 60 to 90 seconds was good.
Bunch of Brits chanting Harvard was quite funny for me. I'm like,
flashback to last week with Ulf interrupting Scott Parker's promo doing the challenge, and then it is Ulf Herman versus Scott Parker. Ulf is still using Rammstein and has been to B&Q as he comes out with a long piece of wood, swearing and kicking the railings. One of the things Ulf was very good at, actually, is projecting this aura of being like a sweary tornado, like he's a wild force of nature.
I wonder if that's passed on to, you know, his future generations of wrestlers.
Yes. So we noted that recently, didn't we? Yeah, his daughter has been. What's she been announced for? Oh, the new Rossi Ogawa promotion. Yeah, washing up glove. Yeah.
Look at the size of her. Like, what juice? Like, does he like bring them into the world and go, right, you're gonna start using the juice right away?
She's got some Herman genes.
When I saw her for 1PW, she was acting as like a bodyguard for Lizzie Evo, of all things. Okay. She's a unit. I don't think they had a wrestler that wrestled. They just had.
Oh, I was gonna. So I assumed when you said you'd seen her before, like that you'd seen her wrestle.
Yeah, did a choke slam.
Oh, okay.
I still like that her dad has to get like in the fact that he's a former ECW, because I think we should just always from now on it's like former ECW man Ulf Herman.
Yeah,
like he'll live on that till he goes.
Yeah, Parker again is in his England shirt. This is playing off England beating Germany 5-1 at some ball game I don't care about on September the 1st, 2001. So this is already 3 months old by the time they do the match, and then 10 months old by the time it airs. It's working for the crowd, though. They are hot for this.
So hold on, this is in 2001, right? Okay.
So the football match happened September the 1st, 2001. The show was taped December the 14th, 2001, and this episode aired July the 2nd, 2002.
Okay, so that's just then the some of the comments that the commentator makes at the end then are just like, why are you saying stuff like that? But okay then.
Yeah. Ulf is mad at this. He jumps the railings, he fetches a table, he has some banter with the crowd that has some of his more colourful language very not smoothly edited out. He eventually attacks with a kick and clotheslines, but Parker comes back with a crossbody off the middle rope. When he tries a running one, Ulf catches him and turns it into what will become known as the world's strongest slam. Priest claims Ulf's wheelbarrow face slam dropped Parker from 15 feet, which would be true if they were standing on an 8-foot ladder. Parker skins the cat when he gets chucked over the top rope and head scissors Ulf out, followed by a huge tope that Priest calls the Gold Rush.
Yeah.
Ulf recovers, goes and fetches his table and sets that up, and they chuck each other into some railings. Ulf fights off Parker's attempt to suplex him off the apron through the table and smashes into him with a big running shoulder tackle, sending Parker through it instead. This wasn't just a back bump, like he does a full twist and flip in midair. Yeah. Some of the comments, well, there was a moment, I can't remember what it was, maybe it was at the beginning, it was like, Mark Priest says, the bells are ringing, and they're ringing the tune of Edelweiss, and I was just like, there were lots of anti-German comments during this.
Especially at the end when he's talking about...
I have heard since that he massively regrets.
No, I can listen, don't get me wrong, like, I can imagine, looking back in hindsight, it was like he loved bringing up the war and Dresden and bombings, and I'm just like,
I also got a note from one of the deep throats that said Dino had the idea to make the show more British in inverted commas and devised a list of altered move names like Spitfire Dive and Bouncing Bomb. Sadly, the list was, in quotes, lost before it could be used.
they should have just done that type of show at that venue. They looked like a UKIP rally or whatever it was. Yeah.
Rally,
Yeah.
I just kept thinking myself about Scott Parker coming out to the Army theme tune, and what's he called? Ian Lavender as Pike makes a appearance, as he was probably one of the only ones.
What is your name? Don't tell him, Parker.
Yeah.
So Ulf brings his big stick into the ring and smashed it over Parker's back right in front of the referee. Yep.
Yeah, DQ. Call it, mate. Yeah, funny.
He has a big powerbomb. Parker, though, reverses a whip, hits a backdrop, and heaves him up for the golden arrow and gets the pin. After the bell, Herman back suplexes Parker off the middle rope as he celebrates, as Priest tells us that next week it's Doug Williams versus Robbie Brookside for the FWA title. Parker then returns with a chair to run Ulf off as we go off the air, and I noted we had a whopping 6 minutes of wrestling on this entire show.
I mean, the match was okay. It was it held my interest. Herman is gold in this company. Like, I can see why he kept being brought over and stuff.
Yeah, he was over. He got over.
He knows what to do. He knows the bits. I'm the angry German. I will shout very loudly like this. I'm going to eat you, and then stuff like that. And that kind of works, obviously, clearly at the time. Scott Parker is okay. I think he's like, I don't know. He's in the same space as Scotty Rock for me. I don't kind of have much care for them.
Is it just men called Scott you don't like?
I mean, it could be.
How do you feel about Scott
Hall,
Scott Steiner, Scott D'Amore, Scott Armstrong?
I mean, I could talk about Scott D'Amore quite a lot because I do love TNA. Scott Steiner is great, also in TNA. Scott Hall, R.I.P. And Scott Armstrong, he's a bit of a cunt. I mean, I don't know. All the Armstrongs are cunts except Bullet Bob. R.I.P. big fella. I just there was make this a no DQ if you're gonna do weapons.
Yeah,
spots.
I mean, Ulf just sort of does what he wants. It didn't matter if he didn't give a shit. He would do whatever he felt like. There was an edict.
Just call it in the ring, brother.
Yeah, there was an edict that the wrestlers after they'd gone out and sold the gimmicks at the interval, they were told don't walk back through the crowd. Right?
Okay.
The wrestlers should not be just wandering through the crowd because it's distracting if there's a match going on and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And everybody obeyed. Everybody would pack up their stuff, go out the front doors of the building, and then come in through the back door into the locker room. Ulf didn't give a fuck. Just walked straight through the crowd.
But that's probably a thing you like about him because he's very he's a unique kind of character for this show.
Yeah.
And he's already implanted himself as something different and something you enjoy when he appears, because you know it's going to be something entertaining or something fun. The match might have, the match may be good, it may be bad, but it's you get something interesting out of him. He's one person that when I see he's on the card or when I see him appear, I'm like, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Whereas when it's a Mark Sloan match, I'm like, maybe make it 3 minutes, kid.
Never gonna stop burying Mark Sloan. Andy, have you got any hot takes on Scott Parker versus Ulf Herman?
I think following a similar story to other matches where one person does all the manoeuvres and then loses to one manoeuvre. It's just right.
But the golden arrow is such a hard move.
Yeah.
Nobody kicks out with the Falcon Arrow.
With Ulf, though, he doesn't lose anything in defeat because it's straight away.
Yeah, I guess so. Episode 27 airs July the 15th, 2002. So yes, this stuff is now 7 months old. We get something resembling a hype video for Williams versus Brookside, including fan cam catching the old school beating up Doug in the hall backstage. And then we cut to their locker room where Drew is strapping the belt they stole off Doug onto Brookside. Brookside is saying that it should fit great because he's not as fat as Doug.
Yeah.
And then shows it off to the rest of the room like a good heel. He flubs almost all of his lines, but manages to get out that he won't need more than 15 minutes to put Doug Williams away. Dino chimes in with more fucked up philosophy bollocks. Plato said that wise men learn more from fools than fools learn from wise men. So be a wise man and go and teach this fool a lesson about pain in under 15 minutes. Didn't you just say that the wise man learns more? If I didn't know better, I'd be convinced that he's supposed to be the Del Boy of the FWA. Monge 2, Flash? Monge 2?
That he come in a segment we're going to talk about later. He very much does like Barker become very, very much feels like Trigger.
Yes.
In that segment.
I thought that at the time. Yes, you're right. So, someone else we thought we'd seen the back of, Jorge Castano, is in the ring.
Yeah.
And here comes Capo Khan, and wearing a pair of silver bin bags on his legs, Ian De Silva.
Who's now no longer Ian De Silva.
Well,
anymore,
yes,
we're going to get into a bit more.
We'll get to that in a second. Yes, he is in fact renamed Ian Disciple for reasons that will become apparent. We have kind of taken the piss about what he looks like and how old he is on previous shows. Would either of you like to hazard a guess at how old Ian De Silva was on December the 14th, 2001?
28.
Ooh. Probably 26.
Mr. Ogden, make room in your garage for another speedboat. He was, in fact, 26 years old.
Oh, Jesus wept. He wasn't. such a rough paper round for him.
Yeah.
Like, was he like? No, surely not.
Yeah, apparently. Hey, so I asked. I didn't just Google. I asked actual human beings, and this is the answer I got. Before Khan can speak, Castano grabs the mic and says, "What the hell are you doing here in this ring? I left you back in Colombia to take care of business for the Castanos. So what are you doing here with that twat?" His delivery of twat is brilliant. And they cut to Ian, and he can't help but smile. Khan says when he managed George, he took him from being a nobody to being an international tag team superstar. He claims they went to Rio and won the vacant WCW tag titles. He says George's soul is about to be cleansed because he is about to come into contact with someone with divine powers. And then, with the line, "He is coming, he is coming, he has come," he introduces the Messiah, Brandon Thomas.
I wonder where he got that "he is coming" line from, to be fair.
Yeah. Yes. This gets a big pop. And I asked around. I was trying to find out where this gimmick came from. Like, was it something he was doing in the Midlands? Was it something that was happening on the UKFF? No one could answer me. There is no mention of this character until the results of the show are published. But it's all the trainees that pop. So this must have been something like an inside joke that has made it onto a show.
Yeah.
He comes out to Ralph's cover of Jesus Christ Superstar that seems to turn into the actual version of Let Me Entertain You.
Oh, I put the exact thing down as well. Let me entertain you. My karaoke song. Let me entertain you.
Hell has gone and Andy's here.
Loved it.
Yeah. His name, graphic font, is Papyrus, the same cheap-ass font as the Avatar logo. If he's supposed to be Jesus, why is his hair tied back? Where is his beard? And why is he just wearing cheap athletic gear from Sports Direct?
Because there's no room. You know, when Jesus arrived again in the year 2002, he landed directly in, a Sports Direct. He appeared from the massive Sports Direct Cup, and, he rose from it, and then, he's here in Lonsdale,
It's like when you forget your wrestling gear and you have to go into the PE kit box.
Yeah, it really is.
lo and behold, in FWA, they had lots of it.
Yeah, they must have a big bin full of stuff backstage. It's like the AEW tight, shiny black trousers bin they've got that all the women pass by before they come out on TV. Yeah, he doesn't look a thing like Jesus and doesn't even talk like a gentleman. We have George Castano versus Brandon Thomas. So fuck knows what Ian was even doing out there to start with. He's not even in this match.
He's just standing there like fucking like he's Festus in his WWE gimmick when he's just waiting for the bell to ring, and then as soon as the bell rings, he gets out the ring.
Yeah.
There's a great moment where Andy Coyne squares up to one of the Castanos, and you can clearly see the height difference because I think Coyne almost
your
is,
referee should not be bigger than your former tag team champion. Yeah. So George attacks, Brandon fights back and chucks him over the top rope. Whatever Disciple and Khan attack him with must have been really bad, because we see Thomas taking the ref and then cut to Castano being rolled back into the ring.
Yeah.
A flying leg lariat gets called a boot to the midsection before Khan takes a weird comedy bump for Thomas not quite getting backdropped out on top of him. Thomas avoids a Castano tope that wipes out Disciple and Khan and then chucks him over the barrier. Did anyone spot the quite large young wrestling fan in the front row in the black FWA Academy t-shirt 2 seats away from where this happens?
Wolfman?
No.
This is the first time we see on camera Paul Burchill.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's an Academy trainee at this point.
So there was the only thing I kind of picked up when they were outside the ring was Priest burying the fan cam and saying we need to get better. The fans need to get better equipment, and then as they pull out to the normal camera, it's like there's the fan, and it's just a guy in an FWA worker shirt just going. Yeah,
it's LSR with his camcorder. Yeah, what he should have buried was the 150 fucking empty seats at the back of the hall they hadn't filled, because that's what we get a tour of. Khan distracts the referee for so long my hair went grey, and then eventually Thomas climbs up for a moonsault and Disciple runs in. The action of Castano flinging him over the top rope wobbles Thomas and he crotches himself, and then Castano climbs up and hits, for this match, a frankly absurd top rope German suplex and gets the win. It's like it's the best of the Super Junior final. And then he does that to no reaction because a heel beat a heel. The match was crap, and I have no idea what this was all about.
But the thing is, like, is he a heel being Jesus? Or, because I don't know this.
I don't know.
Because Silva's smiling all the time. I'm like, stop fucking smiling.
He got cheered. He's supposed to be Jesus. He has a disciple. He has a manager.
There's a gimmick that me and Andy went when Andy and I went to PCW. There was a gimmick that we saw where a guy was playing Fester from the Addams Family.
Oh God!
And I was like, this guy looks very much like Ian De Silva, but it's like that way where it's like you have to be happy, smiley, and it's like. Maybe, and I know it's obviously an audio podcast. He's like just smiling really much, like I'm happy to be here, but like. And also, as I say, he's like just there for no reason in the beginning because like he's not in the match. It's just Jorge Castano and then Capo Can, and I don't think we ever actually explain why Capo Can has decided to turn on them. But yeah, this is just like one of those like four storylines from the bottom that we need to at least remember that they exist.
I don't know if we see. I mean, on TV, we don't see this version of Brandon Thomas ever again.
Right.
Because the next time we see him, the family is fully formed.
Yeah.
So right. So like,
there's gonna be like at least a year missing where we don't see anything.
So we're basically going to need to do an in memoriam of any gimmicks that we saw maybe once and then didn't see again, along with people who fucked off as well.
We'll save it for the final episode. It'll take up 10 minutes. Any thrilling insight into whatever the fuck this was, Andy?
Throughout this, I thought Brandon Thomas was the good guy here, and I just felt it was pointless that he got beat. Also, Capo Can taking that selling off that dive, where he tried to catch him and he was just like fell on the floor like one of Andy's toys in Toy Story. God, he was terrible. Ian De Silva shit. Yeah, Jorge Castano. He's a Colombian member of the new breed, so he must be shit. Terrible. Rubbish.
What's his new breed name? If they're Ash Curve and Cruz, what's Castano's new breed name?
Powder.
So 2 out of 3 episodes so far, the opening match has been a new character debuting and immediately getting beaten by somebody who used to be a tag champion.
Yeah, but it's like this is the first time. Is this the first time we've seen a Castano wrestle in a singles match? Like,
was there one
what is
before?
Yeah.
What must this guy be
it is.
going through? Because they can't work tag matches because they easily forget their spots. So like, I don't know how one of them
The
can
other
do
one's
with a
gone as
singles
well.
match.
I don't think Alex ever comes back.
But this tag division's getting fucking low as well. Brandon Thomas kind of, like, you look at it and go, right, okay, he's doing the Jesus gimmick, and like you would like, you'd hope they're gonna do something, or like, maybe bangs his head and he believes he's the second coming of Jesus Christ, and then Capo Can kind of believes in it and stuff like that. But like, no, it's just like, oh, he is coming, he has came, and it's just like, I thought like he was like stealing that line right out of a porno or something like that, because the way he was speaking it.
I'm sure Val Venus used it.
Probably.
Yeah.
But like, there's just like, he appears and then he loses. So Jesus cheats and still loses.
Yeah.
But yet, like, again,
It's almost as if religion's a load of
versus-
old bollocks, eh?
Yeah, I mean, you would believe any old bollocks. Hashtag where is Shelley Miscavige? But yeah, I think like that this again heel. If this is heel versus heel, because we've seen heel versus heel before on these shows, or like it just doesn't work, because again, like, and then obviously with the fans popping for Brandon and mainly being his mates and stuff like that, probably.
Yeah.
But like, it's just, again, it's just stuff where they're, again, like with the Hate Vance and stuff, it seems like they're just throwing stuff on for the sake of it and giving people wins to go, hey, look, we've done it. Also, someone started to try a chant of "Where's your visa?" at the Castanos.
Yeah.
But this was just like, it was a match. It was there.
I've just seen something we're not going to get to see. The next FWA show has a flag on a pole hardcore rules match between George Castano and Johnny Storm.
What are we doing here? Is it a Colombian flag? Because if it's a Colombian flag, I'll be really pissed off. Why are they robbing us of this entertainment? This is bollocks.
Right, moving on. Match number 2. Oh, well, we get a recap of the old school beating up Doug and Harrow and nicking the belt. And then Robbie Brookside versus Doug Williams. Doug Williams is the champion, but Brookside has possession of the physical belt. For some reason, Robbie Brookside has had a 15-minute time limit added to this match because he thinks that's all he needs to win. He's the challenger.
Yeah.
He might have physical possession of the belt, but he's not the champion. This stip only works if he's the heel champion.
House of Black Rose, mate. House of Black Rose.
I mean, like, you can say it's hubris, right? And overconfidence, but unless he actually pins Williams or makes him submit, he's not the champion.
The only thing we've heard of this is in that promo where he's just talking.
Yes.
So, like, has he then went to the commissioner at some point? Well, obviously, again, we don't know who. Well, no, he's probably not went to the commissioner. But it's just like a throwaway line, and I didn't even pay attention to it. But then when I heard on the commentary, it's like, oh, this is going to be a 15-minute timer, and I'm like, oh, this is just going to a fucking draw, isn't it already?
yes.
Because you just know what's
Eddie,
coming.
I was going to say, because I sort of missed the 15-minute time limit bit out, but when I kept hearing, the calls 5 minutes,
Yeah.
10 minutes, like Greg Wallace on commentary, I was like, it's a time it draws, and I will get to the end of it, but it just felt like an afterthought watching it as a match because I knew what was coming.
I think as well, like, if you look again, and again, I know it sounds silly, right? But if we're looking this from like a TV perspective, like, remember when Kerry Cabrero came into the company and he had to earn the match by beating someone? All Robbie Brookside has technically come in and done, from what we've seen as a viewer, is beat up Doug Williams. He's done nothing else to earn this title shot other than claim he's the best British champion of some other place. But then, yeah, I mean, I don't know. He looks just shit. Robbie Brookside just looks like shit. Okay, he's getting a shot, and as soon as he said the 15-minute limit, I'm like, this is going to a draw. So, like, I'm just anticipating this might be a good match. But
you will be shocked to learn that this is Robbie Brookside's first ever Frontier Wrestling Alliance match.
Oh,
he's done nothing in the company before this. So,
and I think, the way they kind of sound at the end of this, it sounds like they kick him to the curb already.
Well, yeah, I'll get to that. I had a note about that. So, chain wrestling until Brookside kicks Williams in the gut and we go to break. And when we come back, he's got Doug against the ropes and he's gouging his eyes. Doug gets a couple of hope spots and flash pins, but it's mostly Brookside on top with basic heel stuff. He then puts Williams in a seated double arm lock and pointedly tells the crowd, this is called a wrestling move.
I have a question for the both of you quickly. What match were you more interested in? Doug and Robbie, or Robbie against the crowd? Because I was leaning towards Robbie versus the crowd at certain points.
Eventually, Williams manages to kick Brookside down while seated on the top rope and hits a nice elbow off the middle for a 2 count and a back suplex. But Brookside comes back with a superplex and Okada's red ink style STF. I don't think Okada got it from Robbie Brookside. As we hit 10 minutes, Doug gets in some knee strikes and a sunset flip, but Brookside's feet are in the ropes, and then Brookside fights back with a something. 3 minutes to go, and Doug headbutts out of a second superplex and hits the bomb scare knee drop, but only gets a 2 count, as does a German suplex. Brookside hits his iconoclasm finisher, but is too tired to make the cover. They smack into each other with uppercuts and forearms, and Brookside punches Williams in the eye on the ref's blind side. With 10 seconds to go, Doug counters a corner whip into the Revolution DDT, but because it's wrestling, the time runs out at the 2 count, and dickhead Brookside has to get his shoulder up anyway.
Yeah.
Flash and the boys hit the ring and batter Doug, who fights back and takes out Creed, Slash, and Flash with Revolution DDT, sending them all running. Match was fine. All well executed. Nothing wrong with it, but kind of heatless. Like, the crowd even went quiet on Robbie after a while. And it's kind of like the way I thought it was like, if I went to All-Star or Premiere and this was the main event, I'd probably come out happy. But I kind of hold the FWA to a higher standard. And the finish was like the sort of bullshit the wrestling can't help itself but do. I don't think anybody benefited from this being a draw.
I think in current wrestling, no one likes a draw, but then AEW have done a couple of draws that people have kind of enjoyed, and they've been quite good. This kind of was like, I like the timing reminders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It felt like Doug at the end was like, it didn't feel like Robbie was trying to finish this match as quickly as he kept talking about, like, he would only need 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If you need 15 minutes, or you're saying it would only take 15 minutes, then surely when you're hearing the timer going down, you're like, well, shit, I need to fucking beat this guy now, so I'm just gonna, hit everything. Whereas it just felt like they were going a bit slow at points, and Doug was hitting some good moves and going quite quick with his bit. But then again, the time limit didn't really affect Doug. Doug just had to kind of survive the 15. There was not like any kind of pressure. So I felt like for a final match of this episode, it was kind of like, it was alright. Someone chanted CZW at some point, or maybe in another match.
I heard that too.
Yeah. I suddenly turned around and was like, is DJ in the room? Then there was like, what was it? There was a line from Priest. It's like, an etch a sketch of pain, and I was just there, something like that. I was like, Christ's sake. But yeah, I thought it was okay. It wasn't anything special.
No.
I found Brookside, when he was working the fans and having arguments with them, and also when he goes, "This is a wrestling move," I found that more entertaining than certain parts of this match.
I know it's the famous line: 2 professional wrestlers doing a professional wrestling match. But
Pretty much.
these two fall into that category, don't they?
Yeah.
Some of the notes I did put, the crowd following on from German inbreds to about now to Northern inbreds chant for Brookside. Where's your Shellsuit chant? And I did put, I used to own a Nike white and grey combo once, the comfiest tracksuit bottoms ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was when I was about 18 and a fat lad.
18? I had a Shellsuit when I was like fucking 12. That's when they were in fashion, and you're younger than I am. Fucking hell.
Yeah, but I would say when I was around 12, I was still using some of our Jeff's hand-me-downs, or some interesting shirts going on there from Jeff.
So we're into fashion watch again. Was this Jeff Shellsuit that you ended up with?
No, it wasn't. Thankfully enough, it was some of his Hawaiian shirts. What he had, like he had a green and which was a cracking shirt, and I was still wearing it in my early 20s till it got a rip. Anyhow,
bet you any money they danced to the Hawaii 5-0 theme at one point with those Hawaiian shirts.
There was a line from a Priest that I had a laugh at. One of his puns when Brookside did the Brookside special, and he couldn't get no pin because he were a bit too slow. Priest said he's getting Brookside closer, which I thought was a good line. But yeah, no, it was. You can see the finish coming from a mile off. It was 2.5 stars. Robbie Brookside still a boring sod.
Yeah. As Eddie mentioned earlier, as Eddie mentioned earlier, like Priest has a line on commentary about how Brookside has failed the old school and they're probably done with him. I think that was inserted in commentary. I don't think this was the story on the night. If that was the story on the night, why doesn't Doug just win?
Yeah, because they were doing like the whole because he was like the boys had pushed Brookside out the way to deal with it, and then did they just keep the belt? Because like Doug wins, and there's just no sign of that belt again. So are they just like holding the belt?
If you dig, you can find an approximation of the FWA website with the news of the time. So that was kind of where I went looking for the Brandon Thomas stuff. So I'm going to have to use that to fill in any gaps. Because I honestly don't know when someone other than Robbie Brookside is physically holding the belt. Sorry, I'm trying to talk and look at my other monitor at the same time.
No, I think as well I don't think the belt's been overshot. I mean, I'm glad they've kind of incorporated the belt into the new school, old school kind of stuff. But I'm assuming Doug is still kind of going to try and be his own man and things like that, because I don't really see him fitting into kind of the babyface, the kind of locker room, as you kind of see in one of the episodes. And I think the next episode there's a thing in there. But if Brookside really has failed you, then yeah, you would absolutely do the loss, and then you would then have him. You would have Dino go that he's fed him to the fishes or whatever the typical mafia gimmick they want us to use.
Yeah, we're just looking at Doug Williams' age, and he's 30-year-old at this time. So surely he's reached that age where he'd probably fit into the old school a bit more. His style.
I mean, he's older than all of the boys.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie.
He's older than Justin Richards.
I would say Robbie Brookside's 36.
Yeah, but he looks like he's 50.
Yeah.
He looks like he's seen things and he's living in a bin. But the thing is, Doug's had I'm laughing at my own jokes. Doug's had the opportunity to be, they've had the opportunity to do the bit where he's part of the old school, and he's then been rejected from it. So it's, and they beat him up for a guy who looks in his 50s and, looks like he smokes 8 a day. But it's like,
only 8.
Only 8.
Well,
8
packets, mate. Yeah.
You measure
yeah,
cigarette
like-
consumption differently in Scotland.
Yeah, well, it's like measuring crack as well. But but I think like again, it's the lines are being drawn obviously, and the old school do have their young talent in Justin and stuff like that, and then they have Barker, who how old is Flash Barker at this point?
Barker's older. Barker's like 35, I think, at this point.
Right, okay. So, like, you could, they tried to recruit Doug, and then obviously they'd be up Doug, which again, I still kind of don't get the whole point of that to then bring in Robbie Brookside, but hey ho, it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from, Andy. Like, he would fit the old school thing, but they've already done the whole, he's been kicked out now, so it's like, okay.
34 Flash Barker.
Okay, I was close.
We gotta figure out what the like kind of requirement is to be a part of the old school.
I think it's just subscribe to their philosophy. You don't need to be old to be in the old school. You can have an old head on young shoulders. You don't need to be old of body.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, episode 28 airs July 22nd, 2002. Recap of the end of last week's main event and aftermath. And then we cut to the new school locker room, where Victoria Demonfort is striding around, rallying the troops. She lauds Jodie Fleisch's commitment for cancelling his Japan tour to stay and fight, and for Chris Harvard for flying over to partner Alex. She's worried about Alex, though. He's lost a lot against the old school. Because of them, he no longer has his girls or his security, and his best friend double-crossed him in the ring. Who's the best friend in this scenario?
Guy Thunder?
Barker.
Oh, no, Barker, yeah.
Surely.
Well, I thought she was initially referencing Guy Thunder, but like they'd had a feud. Like,
had a
since
blood
going
feud.
back to the Portsmouth shows.
They were Austin Rock of this FWA. They were like, they don't like each other at all.
They're not special.
Whereas Barker has been like his right hand man bodyguard.
Yeah, I guess. But that felt like referencing the same incident twice. Like she was desperate to find a third thing.
Also, Jodie, why are you fucking off Japan to come here? Like,
I don't think he was. I don't think he really was. But Vicky needs to know that Alex is focused and he's not going to make this into some sort of revenge thing. And Alex responds that she hasn't been around, so she hasn't seen what's been happening. The old school took away everything he believed in and everything all these wrestlers have worked for. So damn right, it's about revenge. But it's also about the new school and the FWA. And she finishes with, if it's about the FWA, then let's go to work. And they do the hands in on 3 thing. FWA. I don't, what the fuck is that called?
It's unison chanting, I guess. I don't know. Does he say he's hard cocked up at one point? Or something during this? I thought he said, like, I'm hard cocked up. And I was like, whoa, steady on, man. Like,
I mean, he's popping a semi.
Well, he does talk about Viagra in a much earlier segment here at this point.
He does.
Do you think in any normal situation that he still talks like he's trying to cut a promo? You know, like when to get a pint? Because I can't think of any situation where he's not got the movements where he's trying to, try and fight someone in the ring in the evening. And
I'll have a pint of milk and 2 Mars bars, and there's 2 things you can do about it.
If he acts like Alex Shane in real life, it is brilliant. And he like just walks into a bar and just does the show stealer pose, and then has his phone playing his theme song. Cracking.
So he did once tell me someone once sent him some money via Western Union, but they didn't send it to his real name. They sent it to Alex Shane. And the guy behind the counter at the post office wouldn't release the money because he didn't have any ID that said Alex Shane. So he went and got a copy of WOW, the magazine, off the newsstand and was showing him like, look, here is me in this magazine. Alex Shane, this is me. Give me my money.
Kieran, did he have to do holes with his finger on his chin?
The promo picture pose. So, titles, and then out comes Jane Childs, and she immediately goes all mum's net. As the FWA spokesperson, I just can't sit backstage any longer. The old school are just over the top. Absolutely.
Did you hear the chant that one of the fans made when?
Yes,
and
I'm
her
trying to
response
ignore
was
some of this stuff, man. It's not good.
the most eloquent response to this chant. Let's go puppies, and she goes, "Thanks very much."
Yes.
Good put down. Really good.
I appreciate you objectifying me. On with the show.
Yes. No, fuck off.
Yes.
But yeah.
So she recounts the angle at the end of the Harrow show, Nikita getting attacked by Drew and Dino and all that kind of thing. They've moved the hard cam.
Yes.
So for the first 3 episodes, it was on the stage pointing back at the most of the people. Now they've moved it into the balcony. It's much better up here. So out come Justin Richards and Dean Ayers. Dean gets the what treatment, which at the time of taping was only 4 months old.
Right.
And people still do it 23 years later.
It's come to my attention that I now know who Dean Ayers looks like. And it was stuck in my mind for a while, but then I realised he is evil young Ben Elton. He spits into the crowd as well, and I was just like, yep, he looks like young, evil Ben Elton.
So he spat out chewing gum, and apparently he accidentally spat it directly on Andy Simmons. So the fans chant, "You sold out," to which Dean responds, "We didn't sell out, we bought in." He mocks Jane for her assertions that the old school have gone too far and says that the old school is not some passing phase or 5-minute fad. This is a revolution. He asks her a couple of questions, but quickly pulls the mic away from her as soon as she goes to answer. He says he's not going to have some woman tell him what isn't acceptable, and he will never have a woman tell him what to do. But in doing this, he gets too close, and she grabs the mic and yells, "You'll never have a woman, full stop." Justin then jumps in and grabs her by the chin and pushes her back into the corner. And they bully her and force her to apologise. And then outruns Nikita, and she pulls Richards away, and unfortunately she grabs the microphone. She calls the old school cowards, does her line about going and buying herself some balls again, and then defiantly hands the microphone back to Dean. Wrestling companies always have 2 microphones. Did you just see bubbles appear over my head as well? Where the fuck did they come?
I did. It's I think that's an Apple thing. It's a new feature what you can do, like thumbs up.
Yeah, but where did they come from? I'm leaving this in the edit, by the way. What the fuck was that? How? Right. So, this is what I mean, this ties into my rant earlier about wrestling companies always needing to have 2 microphones. Babyface and heel shouldn't be handing the mic off to each other. Aya says says Nikita should learn never to interrupt him again, prompting Richards to lock her in the crossface chicken wing. He yells at her some more until Johnny Storm makes the save with a spear. Eddie, you got someone behind you.
I'm recording. Thank you.
Might leave that in too.
Mother sideburns. Hello.
Yeah. Johnny Goldberg lays in some punches and sends them packing, making this the second time that capable professional wrestler Nikita has needed rescuing by a man.
Is her gimmick that she just wants wrestlers to grow balls so that she can fight them?
I don't know. Like, I think I mentioned this last episode. Like, Kat is a lovely person. She's one of the nicest people I ever met in my time in wrestling. She becomes a decent wrestler. She should never, ever be handed a microphone. And she would quite possibly admit that herself. I
think the old school also re-showing their old misogyny ways, because obviously they've done that now twice. Obviously, they clearly have a vendetta against Nikita, who is in the FWA new school kind of locker room at that point as well. Yeah. So, but yeah, and Johnny Storm just looked like he had been like released out of a pinball machine when he came out.
When you were saying about Johnny Storm doing the spear, I just had a thought of Roman Reigns with a squeaky voice going,
"Acknowledge me."
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't just bounce off. Yeah, so Johnny challenges Richards, and he and Nikita leave the ring. My only thought is, I guess they didn't know at this point she'd just be wrestling the guys, and they still hope to do women's matches. Because the other thing I noted, she shows no ill effects from the deadly chicken wing as they walk away.
If we're going by this chronologically, I mean, at least she's recovered from the chair shot to the head.
Yes, yeah, that was a month
for a
ago.
while. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, she doesn't sell much of the chicken wing. You know. And Jane Childs being there is quite interesting. At least they have like that other character there as well in Jane Childs. It was okay, but it seems like obviously we're doing the misogyny old school angle, which is it is what it is.
So we are halfway through this show with no wrestling yet again, and as we go into the ad break, we are threatened with a new breed match.
But we don't need to worry about wrestling on this show, especially this one, because of what is about to happen. This golden segment we're about to get here, Kieran.
So, back from the break, and we are shown earlier today in the old school locker room, which looks exactly the same as the new school locker room from earlier. Dino and Flash enter, and they give Sticks and Pliers a pep talk, and we see that Barker is buying into Dino's COD philosophy. He's finishing his little phrases for him. They are like a talking motivational poster that probably smells of deep heat. They spout a bunch of nonsense phrases, and it ends with the camera on Sticks and Pliers looking like they haven't understood a fucking word of it. Any particular choice phrases you liked, Eddie?
The no lamb bit I was kind of baffled by for a good wee while. He's like, and then
it was
just
like, oh yeah, they were talking about the lion that lays down with the lamb, but there should, like, if the lion does his job properly, there shouldn't be a lamb left in the morning or something like that.
But it's then like as well, like there's just moments where he's like, where it's like that kind of like assistant manager, where it's like he's just repeating everything the manager says, but like in different kind of just maybe only using like one line. He is like Barker very much comes across as Trigger from like Only Fools and Horses.
Yes, that's a good comparison. I was about to ask, does that mean that Flash Barker is the assistant to the regional manager?
Yeah, it's like you know what he's saying, right? Like, yeah, no lamb, chicken, and I'm just like, and then again, Dino has just annoyed me this entire block, because it's just like he has swallowed the art of, like, you know how like in Black Books where Bill Bailey's character swallows the little book of Calm. Yes. It's like Dino has like swallowed the like a tiny version of the Art of War by Sun Tzu, or like books by philosophers, and he's just like, I'm gonna just every word, every phrase I'm going to say throughout the entirety of these shows is some philosopher.
It's more like he swallowed the Reader's Digest quotes for dickheads.
Yeah, that is true.
So our one and only match on this show is for the FWA tag title. It is the boys, Sticks and Pliers with Creed and Slash, versus the New Breed. I fell off my fucking sofa laughing when Priest called the Breed the best tag team the UK has ever seen.
Bollocks.
Holy shit, what a low bar. So Sticks and Pliers jump Ash and Curve as they get to ringside. Pliers gets hucked into the crowd, and Sticks doesn't do very well 1-on-2 as the Breed work over his arm, and both members take one step too many for a double drop kick while he's down and just sort of crash into him shins first. They do a terrible job of manoeuvring so Pliers can clock Ash as he runs the ropes, but Sticks redeems it with a nice spine buster. Ash gets chucked outside, and the other two boys give him a kicking. Ash tries to fight back with sliced bread on Sticks, but Sticks runs him into a clothesline from the apron. Eh?
The guy almost the I think it's Curve, is it? Who's in the ring at that time? He like almost necks himself when he's going for the.
Oh yeah, no. So firstly, yes, it's Ash, and he's trying to do the sliced bread.
One of them.
He doesn't get anywhere near all the way over, and Sticks like has to herk him all the way over. And then, so Ash has got Sticks in a waist lock, and Sticks runs along the ropes towards his own corner and ducks at the right moment. So Pliers can clothesline Ash from the apron, and he hits him right in the face and splits his nose open.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was kind of trying to remember how he bled, and I was like, right, that makes a lot of sense
Yeah,
now.
I was going to have a look and see when Pliers' first match was, but on Cage Match, he's just listed as question marks. They don't have his name. It's not that he doesn't even have a profile. They don't even have his name.
I'm sorry, but he's just so bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I watched this entire match thinking like, Sticks, okay, you're kind of probably green, but you're kind of doing okay. And Pliers, I'm just like, Pliers.
Yeah, so Styx is green but competent. Like, he has an idea of where he should be, and his execution on stuff is fine. Pliers has no clue.
No, absolutely none.
Ash eventually turns Pliers' gorilla press into a DDT and clobbers Styx with Nenzui to make the hot tag, and then the funniest thing happens. Curve takes out Styx with a flurry of kicks. Oh, that rhymes. Finishing with a spinning back kick. He then tries the same kick on Pliers, who, wanting to make this look good, jumps to take the bump. Only he's a bit enthusiastic and jumps too early, meaning instead of getting hit in the chest, Curve's kick hits him square in the balls. I fucking died.
It's his face. I just followed his face after happening, and it's just like a big O shape. He's like, oh no.
Yeah. Even the commentator's like, that hits him square in the chest in the nether regions. This was the highlight of all 4 of these episodes for me. I rewound this. I watched all of this twice, and then this on both viewings. I rewound it several times. It is, if I do promo clips for this episode, this is definitely going in. Complete with the football in the groin noise from The Simpsons.
Yeah. There's like some of the like I think it was also as well another reason why I didn't like the boys, and also during this match we went back to it, is when they throw one of the new breed to the outside. This is obviously before this, and the boys just throw the weakest punches ever. It's just like awful.
They're trainees, man. They're not ready.
I know.
The only one who is ready has carried the bulk of this match.
Yeah, and Styx has done a good job because he's had to carry this all on himself.
Yeah. Pliers gets chucked outside again. There's a definite edit in a Hurricane Rana.
Yes.
And Curve puts Styx in the rings of Saturn, but Pliers comes back in, breaks it up, and clatters him with a spear. This is the one thing he can do. His spear looked like it hurt.
Yeah.
On the outside, Creed and Slash get hold of Curve for Pliers to dive off the top onto him, but he escapes just as Ash recovers to shove him off onto the other boys. That doesn't make sense, that sentence. I guess Curve escaped. Anyway, in the ring, Ash hits Styx with the sliced bread or reverse neck breaker or crusher or whatever it's called, as Pliers gets backdropped into the crowd for the second time and dived on by Curve. Styx kicks Ash in the balls and goes for a superplex, but Curve comes back in and punches him in the nads, which Priest again calls a thumb to the bum, as he does whenever, as he seems to do whenever a babyface hits somebody in the bollocks. And then Breed hit what we know as the street sweeper with the non-legal Ash getting the pin, and we immediately cut off the show and go off air.
It was a very interesting end to that episode. That's for sure. But didn't ever really feel like the new breed were in peril of losing the belts.
Andy, do you have any strong opinions about the boys versus the new breed?
Shit. To be honest, I know I mentioned the name earlier, Shakademus and Pliers. I know they teased me like one of their famous hits in 1992 with a good match. It wasn't
No.
that. Just amateur all over. Don't bother.
No. Eddie, anything else to add to that?
Yeah, it was a thing. Styx was basically carrying the world on his shoulders, and a man named Pliers. And again, we know what it's like. The new breed have been, the tag team division in this company is bad.
Yeah.
As long as we're not going to get the Castanos against the new breed again, where they can't remember anything and they forget the spots in about 5 minutes, I think it can be classified as a success. But yeah, it was okay. I don't think it was great. That's what I will say.
Yeah, this whole block really hasn't had any dynamism, any exciting angles, or the good matches of the last block. I think we got all of that in that last.
I feel like it's fallen back again. I feel like, as I said, it's like a roller coaster feeling with some of these, and I think I'm now back to kind of like a bit cooled down on the whole thing.
Please don't get back to how low you were after the end of our episode 5.
No, I think the new school, old school angle has still kept me aflame for this. And there's some stuff in here that was really quite funny and quite good. I will still be, I'm not going to be like, I never want to watch this stuff again, and I'm very close to quitting this podcast. That won't happen for a good while. Just as long as there's no like 4 Mark Sloan matches in a while, or a Mark Sloan gauntlet, I guess. But like, but I'm interested to see where we go from here, because obviously I think we've only got like 3 episodes left or something like that, and one didn't even air.
So what we have left of Frontier, the show called Frontier Wrestling, is the final 2 broadcast episodes, which were also taped at this show. So they got 6 weeks of television out of one live event, and then what was called the Frontier Wrestling finale, which was a 1 hour. It's cut like a TV show, so it has space for ad breaks, but it was, as far as I know, it was only ever released as a VHS that was sold at the shows. That's a whole other kettle of fish. Yeah, like like you talking about the roller coaster, like the stuff we talked about in episode 5 was a down. The stuff we talked about last month was an up. This I felt kind of leveled off somewhere in the middle. Like, I didn't find anything massively offensive, maybe Brandon Thomas versus George Castano, but it was all just sort of there and business as usual and a bit sort of beige.
Because in the one before we had new characters, we had people we'd not seen before, we had a hot angle to finish off the whole thing. Now the characters are there, but like it's taken a while. Like, we didn't see Nikita for like 3 episodes?
Yeah.
We didn't see her until episode 3.
Yeah. It's
now, obviously, I take it they were maybe selling the effect of the chair shot thing, but it's like,
But it's also the consequence. It's also the consequence of only having half-hour episodes. You you can get half as much on as you would for an hour. I mean, that goes without saying. And I mean, in real time, it was a month between the chair shot happening and the next show, where she again gets attacked by a man. Yeah. Andy, how about you? Where do you fall on this little block?
I feel with this block of TV, it's showing up Dino Scala was an absolute terrible promo.
I do sort of like that we are kind of puncturing the myth balloon of Dino Scala on this show.
Yeah.
Like, he's a small man with a speech impediment. Please
don't tell me that people thought he was a good promo or something like that, because they have to stay off the crack,
I think he thought he was a good promo.
I think what he were is the initial kick of when he come in, like, "Fuck yeah, we're at the races now."
Yeah,
and now he's been put in a major spotlight. It's like you say, fucking Tony Angelino off Only Fools and Us. He can't get it out of our head now. That bloody impression. It's so spot on.
What's really bad is that in real time, it took 3 months for him to get exposed.
Yeah.
Like, he first shows up in September at that first Harrow show, and then they do Broxbourne, Harrow, Acton, and by the time we get to Acton, we've had enough of him. And like, he's just a short man spouting nonsense.
Didn't you say that as well, Kieran, with Drew McDonald? Like, it was like a short space of time, and then people saw through the act.
People saw through the act because he can't move. He's as a wrestler, he's kind of cooked. And that would get even worse. Like 2002, like his back goes, like he still continues to quote unquote wrestle, but like he's fucked. Yeah. Anyway, we need to get on and wrap this up.
It was nice to see a couple of like new debuts, but obviously, as I've said, bit shit that they both lost
Yes.
when they actually looked the stars against the dog shit who they were against. It's more of a promo heavy 4 episodes. Yeah. Some people don't mind that, but like you said, the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Someone had clearly watched Raw, Monday Night Raw, and was like, right, talking segments for this is where it's got to be at, because we've, none of these shows gave me an episode of good wrestling where I was heavily excited by the wrestling. It was just a case of, yes, so we're just going to talk for a bit. Then we'll give you a Castano singles match. Then we'll give you Hayde Vanson. And it's just like, what are we playing at here?
So they had to pad it out because there was no show in January 2002. So December, they get 6 episodes out of December, and then their next show is February. And even though it doesn't air till months later, so I guess that was the reason behind like the one match promo heavy shows. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for watching this nonsense again. Eddie, where can you be found on the internet if you want to be found?
I can be found at Eddie Sideburns on Twitter under the name of 5-Star Wrestling. In the year 2124, we are creating a 4,085 man wrestling tournament taking place not only in Earth, but the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism, space.
Interesting.
But yeah, very interesting, very exciting times. So more details soon on the UKFF forum.
Oh, excellent stuff. And Andy, how about you, and what is going on with Graps and Claps?
Yeah, so recently on Graps and Claps, we've done the 2nd episode of Muck with Matty Edwards, which was basically, if you think these four episode block of FWA was all promos, well, let me tell you something, brother. It was a 3-hour block of promos on the Immortal story arc in AEW TNA, which includes the famous Hogan match from Bound for Glory, Mahogany Grandpa time, Kieran, and it just all the stuff that was going on. Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett at the time fighting over who's the husband of Karen. And yeah, just a lot of wild stuff in TNA. We've also done reviews of Red Pro, Atomic Wrestling. The Red Pro shows we'd done the one with Kieran, which was after your call, and also Red Pro in Sheffield, which also includes a review of our trip to Kelham Island in Sheffield, which is a great area to go and drink at. So
it also includes one Christopher Line going off.
Yes,
I listened to that today. He had a lot to say.
He does have some great thoughts on British wrestling at this current time. There's our Christopher. You can go and follow us on Twitter at GCP Podcast 1. Follow myself at Oggy Part 3.
Awesome. As for this show, you can find everything to do with that at linktr.ee/FWApod. We're on Twitter and Blue Sky at FWApod, and our Instagram is at FWA.pod. My other show, which is either winding down or reaching a crescendo, depending on your perspective, is Must See Matches. Our recent episodes have included Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero from Halloween Havoc 1997 with the Days of Thunder Boys, Kazuchika Okada versus Katsuyori Shibata from Sakura Genesis 2017 with Eamon Bell. And not edited when we record this, but just released when you hear it, will be our bonus draft episode, also with Eamon on it, as it was his idea. With a fun twist on the draft idea as we draft the 104 podcast discussed episodes into supercards. Podcast episodes, matches is what I mean. Jesus. Don't skip this one. It was loads of fun. And then next week, the grand finale as we discuss the most nominated match, which is, of course, Bret Hart versus Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13. And our guests will be plural. It will be what we are calling the Must See Matches All-Star Panel. As for me personally, I'm at Kieran Edits on Twitter. Thank you very much for listening. It's goodbye from Canz, Krank and Spatula. We will talk to you again from the frontiers of wrestling next month, and there's 2 things you can do about it.
FWA.